Alright people, since my last episode took a bit longer than I expected, I have to do another video about the drums. And in this episode we will listen to our drums as a whole thing and apply some effects to them all, pretty much. So we will talk about parallel compression, sidechain compression, drum bus compression, and if there's enough time we will also talk about reverb. So let's have a look. Okay, first off we will just listen to our whole drum kit because we haven't done that the last time around and we want to see how our mix sounds now, of course. So let's listen in. Alright, that's pretty much just a mix we've done last time, and now we want to shape our sound just a bit more, and therefore we will take a look at the parallel compression first. And what we need for that is pretty much just one compressor. I will choose it now. It's the supercharger plugin again, and we will set it to a pretty high ratio here. And also we put on the punch knob because that's pretty helpful. And what it does, it's pretty much compresses our signal pretty hard, and in the end we will mix our original mix with the heavy compressed mix. And with that we can get our more silent parts of the drum kit out in the mix more, and therefore we don't have to harm our transient detail we achieved in our previous mix. So we won't destroy our kick drum basically with even more compression or our snare. So it's a pretty effective way to get more detail and natural sounding drums. It also makes your sound a bit fatter, of course. And to achieve that we have to go into our mixer here and click on that icon around here and press sidechain to this track, and then we can set the percentage we want to mix our two signals, and we have to do it for all of our drum parts here. I will put it to 50% now, just to show the effect a bit, and let's listen in quickly here. Okay, as we could hear, the sound got a bit fatter and you got more detail out of it. Of course, you can play around with it even more in your mixes, and basically it also sounds better in a whole mix than just the drums on their own. But basically it's an effective and easy way to get a bit more detail in your drums. Okay, next thing we take a look at is the sidechain compression. The sidechain compression is an effective way to make room for pretty much other instruments in your mix. And what it does, it takes, for example, the bass and the kick drum and as soon as the kick drum hits, the bass gets lowered in volume, so the bass drum gets out of the mix easier or is more or better hearable later on. And of course you can do the sidechain compression with other things as well, so you can basically sidechain compression the guitars and the snare drum, or vocals and guitars. And yeah, I will just show it with the bass drum and the kick, because that's what I use very often as well. And yeah, we turn off our other drum kit parts, get rid of the parallel compression quickly, just choose a empty insert again here, and we of course need our bass now. I'll just put it in and we will link it to the empty mixer track. So we'll just lower it in volume so we can get the effect easier, and we will just listen to it without the sidechain compression, and then we will take a look. Okay, the bass isn't edited at all, and I will just show the sidechain compression real quick. And it's also the way the sidechain compression works in FL Studio. It's a bit more complicated as in other DAWs, I think. And I also think there's another way to do the sidechain compression, but this way turned out to be my go-to way. So I will show it to you. Okay, what you first need is the Fruity P controller on your bass drum and the Fruity balance thing here on your bass. And now you have to link your volume knob to your P controller pretty much. So you have to click on link to controller. You choose the peak controller on your kick drum. You choose the inverted slope here and click on accept. And now your volume and your P controllers are linked. And we will take a quick look what it does. So as you can see, as soon as the kick drum hits, your volume gets lower. And now we can play around with the knobs here. That's pretty much your bass volume. And it sets how loud your bass gets in the end. And the second knob pretty much chooses how the volume gets lowered or even gets pumped. If you go on the left side, your bass volume gets higher if the kick drum hits, and on the right side it gets lower when you hit the kick. So you pretty much want to have it on the right side, of course. And This knob, don't know what that is doing. Pretty much. Of course you want to set the LFO to this signal here, not to one of the others. And yeah, that's pretty much the sidechain compression. Of course you can play around with the settings and stuff, but the general idea should be clear. And next up is the drum bus, pretty much. Okay, the drum bus is probably the most important thing of the things I've talked about lately, because it's pretty much gluing together your drums and keeping your peaks under control, and that's of course a thing you want to do in your mix. And yeah, therefore we will get rid of the sidechain insert here for now, and we will take a look at our combined drum set again. And what we want to do is we want to send our whole drum kit to one insert, so we can process it as one whole thing. And therefore we go on our insert again and right click on that icon here and route to this track only. And do it for all the drum parts. And now they all should be mixed in that insert and we can process them all together. Let's take a look if it worked. Okay, it seems as it worked, so we can use that insert here to process it. So for the drum bus, of course, you can do various things. You can choose an additional EQ to tame some low end, some high end, of course, get some annoying frequencies out again, but the most important thing, of course, is to set some additional compression on it. So we will open it up and see what I've done there. Trump. Okay, as you can see, there's also an EQ here that's just boosting a bit of the high end frequency here, but nothing special, and we will leave that aside a bit, and we will talk about the compression here a bit more. So of course we have our supercharger plugin again, and again we turn on our punch knob and our dirt knob, and what that dirt knob pretty much does is to add some saturation to your drums, which is a pretty nice thing to have actually. Of course, you could also use the soft tube saturation knob plugin again, which is a bit more aggressive, I think, on the saturation side of things. But it could also work, so you can try that out. For the compression, we set a rather high compression again, so we get most of the peaks out of our drums. So let's listen in. So as you could hear while turning through the different compression ratios, you get either a more pumping sound, a very aggressive sound, or it still maintains to be a bit more natural. So you have to choose your way and your style of mixing pretty much. If you want to have a more aggressive tone, especially on the kick drum and the snares, you want to have high compression. And of course you have to see if it gets too pumping. That's a thing that's not too nice to have, of course. But in general, you want to have a nice balanced volume mix over your drum set, so you can hear the cymbals as well as the kick and so on. In the end, I have also put a limiter just to set a volume level that's nice in the end, and also to cut out some peaks the compressor didn't catch. So that's basically it on the additional drum mixing. I will just skip the reverb pretty much, and I'm referring to Johnny from Fortiori, who did a great job in explaining that part pretty much. And I will put a link in the description and on the screen so you can check that out. For the next tutorials, you can decide if it's going on with the tutorials. You just have to leave me messages and tell me what you want to have next. If I don't hear from you, I will probably don't do much new stuff, pretty much. But yeah, stay tuned for new music and have fun.